Hey, welcome back. It's your man Wise, and today we have a great video to share with you guys. We're checking out Valuetainment PBD podcast. Peter Schiff is on the podcast, and he predicts that Trump dominates the 2024 presidential election. He says Trump is going to win. Like, share, subscribe to the channel. Drop me a comment down below. I appreciate all the love and support. And without further ado, let's go.
Yourself as a very big fan of Biden and going into 2024, what do you think is going to happen this year with Trump and Biden?
All right. Well, I mean, I think Trump's going to win.
You think Trump's going to win?
And so far, my track record is pretty good because I thought he was going to win in 2016 and I thought he was going to lose in 2020. So the reason I thought he was going to win in 2016 was because he tapped into a vein that I knew was sensitive. The government, the Obama administration was pretending the economy was good, but the voters knew it wasn't. Right? The statistics didn't tell the real story. Average Americans were hurting, and the media and Obama were telling them that things were great. Trump came out and said, "I feel your pain," like kind of like Clinton did initially on the economy stupid. But he identified, even though he's rich, he identified with the common man in their plight. And he said, look, I know things are bad. I will make America great again. We've lost all of our productive jobs. I mean, you're hurting. And I knew that that was a winning message. And he was able to beat Hillary Clinton, who was basically 4 more years, the establishment, the status quo. So I thought that Trump would be able to win given the real nature of the economy, because people back then were saying there's a disconnect. Why do the voters not realize how good the economy is? It's because the economy isn't good, and the statistics are the disconnect, not the voters.
Absolutely right. And that is exactly what's happening right now. You have Biden, Kamala Harris, Jim Clyburn, and a host of Democrats out there gaslighting Americans all across the country, telling them the economy is great. A lot of that has to do with the stock market is currently up right now. S&P 500 is up, the NASDAQ is up, but most regular working Americans do not have money in the stock market like that. To be honest with you, most of us, we can't afford to put money in the stock market right now because we need all the money that we are currently earning to be able to live. Everything has gone up. Rent's gone up. Mortgages have gone up. Taxes have gone up. The cost of food has gone up. The cost of gas has gone up. People can't afford to invest in the stock market right now. There was a time when people were invested in the stock market and people's stock trading accounts were flush. And that happened to be about 5 or 6 years ago. But right now, that is not the case. That is not the case. People are struggling and they are sick and tired of hearing Democrats come out on these mainstream media platforms and tell people the economy is great when hundreds of thousands of people have lost jobs. I know people personally that have lost jobs. Heck, I was one of those people that was laid off last year. For whatever reason, mainstream media has not talked about the layoffs that happened in 2023 and 2022. There was a mass ring of layoffs. The mainstream media will not talk about that. But if you go on LinkedIn right now, you will see LinkedIn posts of people that have been looking for jobs for months. You will see people that are crying out saying they'll do just about anything for an opportunity. In some cases, half of what they were earning at their last job just to get some form of money coming in. You guys don't know how many people I've met that do have jobs and they're working 2 and 3 jobs, or they have a job and a side hustle. It is tough out here. And that was not the case when Trump was in office back in from 16 to 2020. That was not the case. People had money. Jobs were plentiful. Matter of fact, there were more jobs than people during that time frame. And these jobs paid very well. It was one of the first times in history, at least in my adulthood, that I seen companies truly having to compete for talent. And now people are scratching, clawing, kicking, screaming, doing everything they can for an opportunity. Companies have become picky. They're starting to pay less. It's a mess right now. But yet Joe Biden can get on TV and tell everybody that things are great. We just had mass layoffs at Tyson's, but the economy is booming.
Oh, by 2020, Trump really hadn't delivered on his promises. He'd been in office for 4 years, and despite all the hype about how it was a booming economy, it really didn't improve. We continued to run big deficits, and inflation was there, and so we didn't have as big a move. But he actually might have won. It's just, I mean, who knows if he actually won or lost that election. But the way the votes ended up, the way they got counted, he lost. But I think this year is very similar, only worse than 2016, in that the economy is even in worse shape than it was then. And despite the media telling everybody how great it is and trying to wonder why it's not reflected in the polls. And in fact, not only is Biden the least popular president in history ever since they started doing these polls, but where he scores the lowest is on the economy. So if the economy is really so good, why does he score so low? Because he's getting, normally if you're the president, if the economy is good, the voters will give you credit, whether you deserve it or not. But if it's bad, they blame it on you. And Biden is getting the blame for the lousy economy, and Trump is coming in and recognizing how bad it is. And compared to how things were when he was president, they're a lot worse now. People are struggling a lot more. The cost of living has exploded over the last few years. And so they want to go back to the way it was when Trump was president. Now, that's not going to happen if we elect Trump, but the voters don't know that. They just think, well, it'll be a magic solution. We just put Trump in there and these problems are going to go away. And I mean, they're not, but at least that's what the voters are going to hope.
We're not that stupid. We understand that it's going to take a couple years to right the wrongs of this current administration. We understand that. Voters aren't dumb. See, that's the problem with the media. They think most of us are clueless and ill-informed. We understand that it's going to take at least 2 years to right the wrongs of this current administration. We're talking about mass deportations happening. That's got to happen, and that's got to happen quickly, but it's going to take a while, and it's going to take a lot of money and man hours to make that happen. We also understand that there's a few things that could happen fairly quickly. Obviously, we turn the Keystone Pipeline back on. We get back to drilling. Gas prices could come down 6 months to a year into President Donald Trump's second term. That can happen pretty quickly. And if gas prices come down, that also means that the cost of goods will come down because it won't cost as much for trucks to get to and fro and to deliver and transport goods across the country. So we may see some benefit there early on. Those are some early fixes and some quick fixes. But there's a whole host of things that need to be rectified, and it's not something that can change like that in a snap of a finger. We understand that. We just want the ship turned around and pointed in the right direction. These next 4 years, it's really not about fixing things to the point or taking things back to the way they were in 16, 17, 18. The real issue is, or the real point is, or the hope is, we'll right the ship. And therefore, the next administration comes in and can continue us down the right path, which would mean that we also need to elect another Republican conservative president in 2028. We just need the ship turned around, and we need to get pointed in the right direction, because right now, the direction that we're headed right now, please, we can't stand much more of this. The American people can't stand much more of this. This is awful.
One thing they're not going to want to do is vote to continue what we got, because what we got is awful. And so they're going to vote for change. They're going to want to throw the bums out. And the leader, the head of the bums, is Biden.
How ugly things going to get?
In what respect?
Like the divisive games, all this stuff. How ugly things going to get?
The election cycle.
Well, I mean, things seem to be getting worse and worse. The divide. I mean, I see that. In my lives, I see people who were friends for years don't even talk to each other anymore, even though they used to be Democrat, Republican. those political differences were okay. I mean, they could still be friends, but it became so polarizing that you can't even be friends anymore. And it's mainly, I think it's mainly, I don't know, from the left. And I don't like to call them liberal. And if my wife watches this, I mean, I'll make a point because she'll be happy, is that the left isn't really liberal. Liberal means small government. Liberal means the government stays out of things. That's where it got started. But Roosevelt, when the women started to vote, he basically started talking about liberal policies because the liberals were very charitable, but with their own money, not with other people's money. And so he started calling government welfare liberal when it wasn't. It's only private charity is liberal. Government charity is theft. So they're not liberal in the classic sense. Like the founding fathers were all liberals, but they were for small government. They were for sound money, and they didn't want welfare or Social Security or any of this stuff that is now associated with being liberal. But the left, everything that they kind of do economically has to do with feelings and emotion and their heart. And so they look at, here's somebody that's poor. Oh, the government needs to solve this problem by creating a program and spending money. Now, if you're a conservative libertarian, you still feel for that person who's poor, but you recognize that that government program is actually going to make it worse. It's actually going to entrap him in poverty. It's going to make it so he's always poor, right? You see the unintended consequences of the government action, right? The road to hell is paved with good intentions. The Democrat doesn't realize that those good intentions are leading to hell, but the conservative Republican understands it. And so he's not in favor of these programs because he's rationalized that at the end of the day, they do harm. But the Democrat doesn't know that. He doesn't think past behind the immediate, this guy's poor and needs money, right? And so the Republican doesn't necessarily think the Democrat is a bad person. It's just that they don't understand. They don't get it. They don't get the economics. They're just missing the connection. So yes, they're just misinformed. They're wrong. But the Democrat looks at the Republican. He's mean. He's heartless. He doesn't want this program. He must be a bad guy. So the left will just think the right is mean and evil people, and you know the right will just think, well, the left is just misguided and misinformed. But now you've got it so crazy because of this new politically correct woke ideology that has now captured the left. And actually, it turned it into something far worse than it's ever been and far more polarizing. And I think even maybe it's splintering a lot of people on the left. I mean, look at like Bill Maher. Look at some of the stuff that he says. And he's a Democrat, but now he's starting to sound more libertarian on a lot of things because he's getting pushed out of that spectrum by the woke stuff.
He'll still vote for Biden.
Wow. Great information from Peter Schiff. We know exactly what time it is with him, but the left, they continue to gaslight, and that's okay. We need them to keep showing us exactly who they are. I'm a firm believer that if you let someone talk long enough, they'll show you who they are, and the left, the Democrats, this current administration, that's what they're doing. Let me know what you guys think. Like, share, subscribe to the channel. Drop me a comment down below. I appreciate all the love and support. Keep God first in your life, America first, and I'm going to catch up with you all next time. Peace.